Welcome, everybody, to Bright Me. We're a podcast where we talk about soccer and other things, other podcasty things. And tonight we've got a great show because we have another return guest, and we're really excited for him to be here. For the last time we spoke to you, and by you meaning the person I haven't introduced yet, but most people are probably finding this online. They already know who the guest is at this point. A lot's changed since the last time you have been on this show. But ladies and gentlemen, anybody else listening out there, Tyler Phillips, how are you doing tonight?
Dude, I'm okay.
You're okay?
I laugh because we just obviously we talked offline, played some soccer tonight, got a little rough. But I'm gonna be okay, It's good.
Speedy recovery. That's not good. But that's one of the dangers of playing sports. So we'll just leave it this way. Brian and me, we always stay physically healthy. Let's put it that way. So you've got one of your 10 or 12 different soccer leagues you're playing with. Maybe cut it to like 8 or 7. But what do I know? I just told you I don't do any physical activity. We're really excited to have you. We've got a fun show tonight. This is going to be a little different than shows of the past. We're going to do some stuff that we do every week, but then we're going to kind of mix it up a little bit. So I'm really stoked for you to be here, Ty, and everybody out there listening. This is going to be the best kind of episodes you get when you listen.
I'm excited. I don't think I've done a return yet, so this will be extra glorious in that sense.
Yeah, you're part of a special fraternity that we don't have like a jacket or anything yet. Maybe
I don't know. I'll take the feeling of just feeling extra blessed. How about that? That's good enough for me.
Perfect.
# blessed. So, Ty, for folks like me who don't know exactly what your role entails, what does a manager of supporter relations actually do?
So, it's good you asked that. First of all, I want to affirm you. It's okay. Not a lot of people seem to know. I identified pretty early on that going into the 2022 season, I was going to need to be intentional about explaining what I do. Sure. So people are going to hear this twice now, I guess. So the main goal of my role is I have 3 tenets. 1, I am the voice of the fans within the front office. So when it comes to your fanhood, your game day experience, your thoughts on the club, I'm making sure they're heard. The liaison position that originally was posted was just to be kind of like the Nordeca's voice. And I still own that. That is 100% something that I do, but I've been allowed to widen the scope to kind of tap into like crew fanhood, because in my opinion, there's 3,300 or so fans in the Nordeca that definitely 100% have a voice, but that leaves you with about, what is it, 16.9? I'm not going to do the math right now, but let's say 17,000 other fans, give or take, that also want ownership of their fanhood and experience, and they also deserve a voice. So I am able to speak for all those groups in the front office. The second part of it is I get to be one of the voices in the room that makes sure the things that we do speak to the city of Columbus, number one. That's where we're at, this community, but also speak to the sport of soccer. So that's across all the departments. I'm pretty cross-functional. I can speak, technically home is in marketing, but also across team ops, corporate partnerships, community relations. I make sure that that voice is heard and also utilized. And then third, which is more the strategic and long-term side of things, I'm also helping identify, and then that's where I want to use, also helping us walk through different entry points into fanhood. So for me, it's about how are you discovering the crew? How am I helping you develop a relationship with the crew? And then also what helps you go spread the gospel of crew eventually? So a lot of the things that I do are very pointedly done with a long-term thought in mind. This isn't just how do I put a button in the seat today? It's how I put a button in the seat and that person brings their friends and they talk about it and they end up telling their kids about it. And one day their grandpa and grandma telling stories about how they were fans for a while. That's the long flowery version of it. So that is what I do as a role. it's a lot, but it's a lot of fun. I really, really enjoy it.
Yeah, I bet.
You mentioned the liaison piece, and that's how it started. Were you instrumental in changing that and widening it out to all the 3 tenants that you have now? Or was it just once they were thinking this is what they wanted when they hired, but then when they had all of your skills, we're going to talk about in a moment. If you don't know who Ty is, this is going to be a good introduction. You talk about the community, you talk about bringing people in. Those are all areas that you have expertise in. Did you widen that out, or was that?
I did.
That's awesome.
Because originally when the liaison role went up, I guess I found out later, like people were like kind of, I guess, thinking I was doing it. I remember on Twitter, there were people even saying like, Ty is doing liaison-y things. And I was just being Tyler at the time. I was not employed by the club at all. I did do a lot of like help along the rebrand situation. And then even opening 7-3, I was around a lot. So it may have seemed like that. And I kept getting questions from employees and other leadership like, hey, are you our liaison? And I was like, no, because at the time I saw 2 things. I thought it was like the scope of it was just a little smaller than what I personally wanted to do. But then I also was like, the impact that they say they want from this role in my head wasn't necessarily like matching a straight up liaison. So it took a minute. I even remember like recommending people for the role. And then I think it was like, honestly, the very end, I said, you know what, if I'm going to apply, I would like to kind of present my vision for the role, for the vision I have for the fanhood and the vision I have for the city. So I was like, I'm going to come in with just a complete just plan, to be honest. I made like a 10 or 15 page deck and went into interview and kind of just gave them a pitch, to be honest. And got interviewed by everyone. Literally, like that was the longest process. Like I wasn't expecting it to be. I think I had 9 interviews, and I went from everyone from like internally to even like literally ownership.
Wow.
I interviewed with everybody, and so I definitely earned it. Because one of my jokes with friends is like, I told them I didn't just like earn a golden ticket. Like they made me work for it, and it was a good process. But yeah, I during that, it made me realize that my vision was in line with their mission and values. And I was able to take hold of that. And I could see like, as I was going through it, the confidence kind of grew, and I'm like, this is correct.
It's that's amazing. That's awesome. And who had did D have pretty tough questions? Did you interview with D? Was she's like the last? It almost seems like what's the Bruce Lee movie where you have different levels of the building and you fight Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at some point? Like
what Dragon is it?
Yeah, let's Enter the Dragon. Yeah, with the yellow. Yeah, the yellow suit. So this seems like kind of like an Enter the Dragon situation, but this for kind of the role sounds like you're working with the heart of the club. And also wanting the city to see that and be part of it. And a lot of this kind of segues into our second question that we had for you. A formal question is, folks kind of like they see you doing a lot of stuff with the team, or especially if your sphere of the club is what you see on social media or what you see on Twitter and what you see people talking about, what you see happening. But you've had a connection with the club for at least 5 years, from what we've talked about like off podcasts and stuff. Like you've known players, you've worked with people in the front office for a long time. So what, if anything, kind of changed from you being Tyler the supporter to Tyler being an quote unquote employee of the crew? Or is it just like now you have a more streamlined outfit to do it through?
Good question. I mean, I would say that the platform to help implement the vision definitely changed. As you said, like I have worked around the team for a while. I've been around other teams and other leagues, so like I had a pretty healthy understanding of how like sports works, especially behind the scenes. And it's interesting, like I always say it's like behind the curtain a bit. You guys start to see that it's just a little different than what you ingest on match day or from your TV. So going into that, there wasn't necessarily a learning curve in that. For me, it was what I would say just like normal job stuff where you're getting to know your coworkers, getting to know how they work, how they prefer to work, how they prefer to receive information, how they prefer to, how should I say this, like delegate. So for me, the first couple of months was building those relationships. So when it came time to implement like projects, I'm making sure I'm running it up the right channels. I'm making sure I'm running it in the proper positioning so that it works smoother than it is. Because that's one thing in sports. Things take time. it's definitely, there's things you can do that are tangibly like, hey, I'm doing this tomorrow and it happens tomorrow. But a lot of things take time. So you want to make sure that you've aligned the correct stakeholders within your organization and outside the organization. And it's a lot of relationship building. So from that side of it, it was just more so like, okay, now I have the tools to do it, and going from there. So
a little more like kind of formal, a little more formal, a little more of like there's more of a process to it. Whereas it sounds like before you were kind of just, hey, here's what I know I can do, so here's what I'm going to do. Whereas now it's a little more official. You got more people to talk to about it, more things to do.
When you think about it from like the business side of it, it's
Right.
literally an organization, and it's figuring out how you fit in that organization and optimizing the moments and the rooms you're in to make sure that the projects and initiatives you want get off the ground. So, and I think that's something that I do well. Is I'm very relational. I'm very much so wanting to prop up my partners to also do well, and in that, my initiatives also get to do well. So that's that.
So I think what's interesting is obviously you've been a soccer fan for a long time. You're working kind of in that field. Do you find yourself, now that you kind of work full time in that field, saying, when you're not working, kind of saying, you know what, I'm not going to watch soccer this weekend, or I'm going to go do something. I just seems that's one of those things I always worry about. Is like working in something you're passionate about. Is like, does it become like, how do you keep it from becoming like ruining your enjoyment of it outside of work?
Honestly, it's a very intentional switching of lenses or taking off the hats, to be honest, because when you work in sports, you legitimately experience it differently than when you're watching it. I've had a lot of fans be like, I feel so bad because you like don't get to watch the game or you're not like in it. I'm like, dude, I'm here. I'm present. I just experience it differently. And for me, I've always like wanted to be a part of the actual machine, in the sense of like putting it together. Tell some people sometimes that like match day feels like a Broadway show, and it's just, there's so many things going on. It's very satisfying to see things go well, and then see the public ingest it and be like, they're enjoying it just from the purest of hearts, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. But like I can see like the hard work and stuff that's gone on behind the scenes, and I personally love that. So when I'm able to take in a game and I'm not working, I'm able to put on my fan hat. I mean, there's a couple of trips I'm going to take this year where I'm legitimately just going to be a fan, and it's going to be me purely putting on that hat for the first time in a while and just diving back in. So when I'm working, I'm not working as a quote unquote fan. If that makes any sense. And I hope that no one takes that out of context. Like I definitely still like have a fan's like lens on, but the cap isn't on. I'm literally working and looking through lenses.
No, that makes sense. Yeah. One of those trips you should take, by the way. Come see us down in Charlotte for to open that stadium. Yeah,
that seems like the big trip this year. Everybody who's talking about going to an away match, everyone's saying Charlotte. I think it's because one, it's relatively close, and it's an awesome city, and also it's got that new MLS smell to it, that new MLS team smell that you just want to go down there and take it all in. And then Harry's down there too, so that even adds another element of it. So it seems like everyone's going to Charlotte. We might have a lot of black and gold in North Carolina.
I actually today spoke to their office about making sure we can make that happen. So, and there's some fun things that we can do. So I'm excited.
Woo.
So
I thought you were going to say people wanted to come to Charlotte because I'm here, but no, I guess
that was implied. No, that was implied, Brian. Of course,
we were on the first deck of the slide they showed me. They're like, "Do you know Brian?" I was like, "Do I know Brian?"
Oh boy!
Thomas obviously being at the matches, he said, he sees you on match day and you are everywhere. So he says he's seen you 1 minute you're in the press box, next minute you're down in the Nordeca. So two questions really from this. First of all, how many of you are there running around? And second of all, what does a match day generally look like for you?
To answer the first question, at the right moment, there's technically three of me. I've been in the same room, but there are three of me. Okay. But a match day is again, it's like a show. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of moving pieces. I usually get to the stadium, depending on the match, about 4 or 5 hours before. Usually I take that time to do some administrative work or have some like last minute meetings. I'm the person that doesn't mind taking a meeting on match day. If like the other stakeholder wants to meet, I'm here for it. And then about 3 hours out from match day, I make sure that everything from the Nordica standpoint has been taken care of. So if there's any elements that they have requested or any new things that they're going to do, all that's in the play. Once the arrives is when I go into game mode, because they get there shortly before like everything comes in. So like I think away team gets there first, and then from there it's like gates opening. You have to make sure like everything that you have planned that day is already set up. So if you're meeting a sponsor or you're having someone meet you on the field for a presentation, you need to have known where they're at before the doors open, because once that happens, now the fans and are here and they may have questions or need help. I need to make sure everything that has to be done is done. I like helping execute run of show. I tell people all the time, like the first 20 minutes of a match are the busiest of your life. And I count from when they hit the field from like the procession to 20 minutes in. Everything from, which pyrotechnics are going to go off, what song is playing, who is being announced. Like there's so many people like in charge of all those things, and all of us in a way support them. It's neat seeing it all kind of fire. My first 20 minutes though are pretty involved with making sure the hometown hero presentation goes without a hitch. Mm-hmm. I assist with the anthem, and then making sure Nordeca kind of does their first like hurrah, whether it be tifo or a smoke display. Mm-hmm. And then right after that, we kind of prep to figure out if we're going to do like a full stadium chant or so, because that's usually the easiest time to do it, because we can get full buy-in. After all that's done, then I kind of chill. I go to my phone, and at that point, there's usually about 10 texts of, this is happening. Can you go check on this? Please help me here. One of my favorites was when we had a couple windy days, the banners in the upper deck would flip over, and people would get mad about it, thinking that the fans were like screwing with it. And I'm like, no, it's literally the wind. So I would sprint up from the bottom, and go all the way up to the upper deca and flip banners. And after that's done, I generally start to like kind of walk around, and I take what I call like temperature checks. And that's where I kind of just go and listen and meet people. I love also meeting the press room, because I like to see who's there. I have a pretty good relationship from my work in this space with different reporters from different teams, beat writers and such. So I like to say hi. I know this guy named Thomas Costello. Sometimes he says hi to me. I feel really honored when he looks at me. I'm just like, oh my God. Oh,
stop it. I'm sitting there, and then I look over, and Ty's like, he's there. And then I talk to him, and then I look over again, and he's on the field. I'm like, oh my God, how does he do it?
Oh, like a Nightcrawler from the X-Men, like teleporting all around.
That's okay. But no, there are important people you need to meet up there. I won't get in the way, Ty.
But after I do all that, it kind of, by that time it's about halftime, and I just kind of repeat it for the second half. And at the end of that, it's just making sure that people have the best of times, and that they enjoy their full experience, which is the second part, I guess, of like my job, the outside of match days.
So that's insane. It's not as you're talking through that, as you're walking through, I get there 4 or 5 hours before. I think when folks heard that there was a liaison role, people were like, oh, I get to just tell the front office what us supporters think. And it's much more than just having a direct venue to, lack of a better word, complain. It's literally, you're in every direction. Those 3 tenets you're doing them all the time as you're working.
And I would say, there's definitely a component of my job that I am that sounding board.
Right.
And I try to make sure that happens mostly off match day, but there's always going to be something that happens day of, during match. And the reason that like I always make sure I'm paying attention to those, because even if it's quote unquote small or large, it's going to affect somebody's match day experience. And if you think about that big picture thing again, like how is that going to affect that story that person goes home, that they go home and tell? Like,
yeah,
I want to make sure that like that can be optimal. Because I mean, there's times where there is a crappy situation, and that is going to be a part of the story. But have I reacted quick enough to be able to redeem the story? Like, is there a good ending to the story? So all those things come into account while I'm, especially doing the temperature checks, when I'm walking around. That's when I hear the, hey, this is happening, or hey, I don't like this, or hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm in the Nordica and it's a little crazy. Like, I hear all the things, and I try to like make sure I'm a listening ear, and I have those conversations and go from there. Little lady.
No, I think
the inopportune time.
I think what's really cool when you're like, as you're describing kind of your match day, is it kind of going back to where you talked about kind of how your vision for the role and how it evolved. Like, you're not, I think the way they'd originally envisioned that role was, working with the Nordeca, like, but these are your people you've kind of already got, right? Like, these are going to be your people that typically are going to be buying season tickets. They're going to be buying merch. They're coming to matches. They're talking about it, blah, blah, blah. So, but reaching those people, I think really where the crew can grow in that community is reaching those non like Nordeca people, those people that aren't coming to many matches or aren't coming to any matches or don't know the team is still there, things like that. So I think it's cool to kind of hear you describe that and to think of like how that role, like how you really made that role much bigger in scope.
Yeah. And I like to always tell people, because when they hear that, sometimes they'll be like, well, does that mean you don't do Nordeca at all? Like, no, that's
sure.
The complete opposite. The Nordeca is still the heartbeat of this entire thing.
Absolutely.
To be honest, like, they are a lot of the reason that people remember matches. So literally, like, it starts and ends with the Nordeca for me. That synergy, that passion, that energy. I want to make sure that we have fully tapped in and allowed the individuals there to express themselves the way they want to, because that is what grows like this thing. I tell people all the time that for me, it's about embracing the tradition we've had and hopefully finding ways to like evolve the things we want to do. And the Nordeca is literally at the center of that. So yes, there's still that part of it. I just get to do all the other things too.
Yeah.
Well, we have a few more crew questions that will come up, but Ty, as multifaceted as your career is with the crew, as is you, the person outside of just the crew, and keeping it soccer related, one of the things that intrigues me is the work done by 2 Cent Sports. Now, there might be folks who are like, oh, it's a cool podcast. It is like so much more than a podcast. It's like a whole multimedia team. Like you have players currently playing like overseas, writing articles. You have multiple podcasts within this group. You've been on locations for videos. I know you talked about a whole series of traveling city to city. We saw some of that earlier this year when you went to Detroit. How did you get started with the 2 Cents group, and also how awesome was it going up to Detroit? Because it looked pretty amazing.
Dude, let's start with the beginnings first. I actually met the CEO of 2 Cent Sports actually the first match of 2020, like our last for fun time. Met him at a kind of like a hangout, and then we became friends, and COVID happened and everything shut down, and he started to talk about what he was doing in the space, in the sports space, and like how he had a company that like wanted to tell Black stories, and they had just kind of kicked off 2 Cents FC as an arm of it, and they started it with the podcast, which one of the other, I'll say the head of content, the other co-creator of 2 Cents, L. Johnson, and Amobi Okugo, he's a former MLS player. He just finishes the season with the Bold. They started to just kind of tell stories, meet people, and give them the platform to tell those stories. And I was just really intrigued by the project. At the time, again, I was actually still with Pursuit. So I just knew that I could bring a lot of my like connecting the dots or bringing the right people around to help enhance it. And it's just grown to the point where like 2 Cents FC is now its own arm. I guess we laugh. We haven't publicly said this, but technically, like, I now am over that whole arm, and that allows like Chris, the CEO, to do more of the visionary stuff. Elle gets to do more just straight up content, and I kind of just like run the soccer division. It's expanded to, I believe, 5 podcasts now. We have our friends in Atlanta For the Culture podcast. They came underneath the umbrella. Unfiltered with Kaya McCullough. She's a part of our network. I know like they all tease me because I say this is my favorites, but Shea Butter FC. We have 2 ladies talking about women's soccer, and they're just absolutely brilliant and they're hilarious. So they're a part of it. My boy Elliot Barr out in Richmond, he does Can I Kick It? And then obviously you have the 2 Cents FC show. 2 Cents guys, if I left one of them out, please apologize. I feel like that's everybody.
Every week there's a new podcast. It's hard to keep track when it's growing so huge.
You know, we have others that are coming online. We're working through some things, but that right now is the core. So 2 Cents FC tells those stories mainly through the podcast, but we also have the written media side of things. We have the experiential and like in-person event side of things, like the Detroit FC thing. All of that coming together allows us to have a 360 approach in elevating and amplifying the Black voice within soccer. So that's an overall of that. With Detroit, we were kind of able to work alongside for Soccer Ventures and their program, the Black Star Initiative. They actually launched it in Detroit City. The leader of partnerships up in Detroit, he reached out to us, he kind of became friends, and he kind of just pitched it, being like, hey, would you guys like to collaborate with this? And we were like, we've always wanted to do more in-person things, and we were able to like be their media arm for the entire event, and it was fantastic. One of my colleagues used to play for them back in the day, and also a alumni of the crew as well. So he used to play there, and he used to be like, dude, you need to at some point go up to Keyworth and just experience it. And I'm like, I keep hearing about it. I know they don't like MLS, but I also respect what they're doing. Like, what's going on? So we get up there and we do the first half of the Detroit City like activation. We had like a Black Business Owner Expo, and then we hosted like a roundtable and of leaders in the community, and just kind of talking about how like soccer is the anchor of all these stories. And originally I was going to kind of leave it at that. I was going to just like, let's do that, and then we'll do the next day and just do some activations during match day. But I was like, I really want to tap all the way in. So I reached out to Northern Guard, and I was very transparent. I was like, hey guys, I do work for MLS. I do work for the crew, and I am from Ohio, but respect what you guys do. I would love to spend the day with you guys. And honestly, they are just like the most welcoming. It was fantastic. The humans that I interacted with, and goodness gracious, they know how to put on a party. And the wild thing is, I didn't even get to experience it full capacity because we were there the night that Michigan was playing Michigan State. So people were not there. But even with like a little more than 2/3 of that section, it was just rocking. The pageantry, the coordination, like the songs, like, oh my God, like I loved it. I love, my favorite part was like when they would call out to, they don't call them the casuals, they just call them the other side, but the other side knows to respond, and it's just like it's so That's dope. Awesome. They also don't have any smoke restrictions, which will be interesting going into USL, but they love to flood it with smoke. So I just had an absolute blast. And then the next day, we, alongside Black Star Initiative, they had a like elite showcase where they allowed people of color to kind of like find a way to showcase their soccer skills in front of head scouts. So we had the crew there. I think Philly was there, Chicago, a bunch of D1 schools kind of was able to evaluate some talent there. And then I'm gonna take one step back. I love this part. We also had like a entry point part where kids who've never played soccer, they were also able to come in and just learn the sport. And at the same time, we were running a coaches clinic. So any coaches of color who are working through their
like licenses.
Yes, sorry,
Yeah.
It's been a long day.
No,
working through their licenses, they were able to get tips and pointers and walk through that process. So it's an overall 360 event, and to be able to be an arm of it, it was fantastic. I got to know like the people and the CEO at Buzzer. They're fantastic. They were a big sponsor. Got to know the For Soccer Venture guys pretty well. Detroit City FC, like they also like are big. They're always gonna have a place in my heart. So it's just kind of neat to see like 2 Cents FC has a place, and the soccer space is willing and ready for us to kind of be here. So 2022 is gonna be fun. We've got a lot of stories we're gonna tell, and I'm really excited. It's not complicated with the crew stuff because actually they love that I'm doing it. It helps us be able to look through different lenses when we do things. For the most part, I don't get to be on location for a lot of the things we're doing now. But when I travel, I can tap in. When I travel with the crew, that is, I can tap in with different people across the nation and set people up for success. So if like For the Culture wants to be at a tailgate somewhere else, I can go and kind of speak for them and let them create content from it. So that's the longest answer ever about what I'm doing with 2 Cents. I apologize.
And it probably doesn't even scratch the surface from what you're talking about, because recently they were part of the HBCU. It was like a combine almost, where you had players out there and getting attention and going out there and getting more opportunities that, kids from like D1 schools like Duke or other places get. They are part of that too. It's just amazing all the work that gets done. And so if you see it as just podcast, it's also an amazing podcast because like we were down in North Carolina in Cary, and we were at a Red Stars match versus the Courage down there. And I won't say who won, but we were with the tailgate folks and we're talking to the Uproar there, the Courage fans. And we started talking to somebody and she's like, "Oh, I used to work with MLS." I had been talking to her for like 5 minutes. She's like, "I used to work with MLS." I was like, "Wait, Sarah, I listened to you on 2 Cents on 2 Cents FC." And we started talking and she was like, "Yeah." Like, so we just started like talking to an owner of the team because of the podcast work. And that's just like the smallest thing. And it's just how far it's grown, I think, so quickly. And it's 2020, as awful as everything we say is connected to it. I think that network and other people doing creative things, it kind of gave people more time to put into those creative kind of movements. And I'm just excited to see all the awesome stuff that you folks do.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So is Can I Kick It a combo soccer and Tribe Called Quest podcast, or?
So Can I Kick It is the like historical soccer podcast. So generally we're trying to make sure like that lane kind of stays solidified where he's telling historical stories, but he also likes to highlight individuals that he likes to say one day will be history. So that's the angle there. So like sometimes we'll have just like podcasts where it's just him telling a story, like a little more of the narrative type stuff.
That's cool.
Awesome.
I always enjoy a good Tribe Called Quest reference there. So before we get to kind of our questions from some of the folks on the Twitter sphere, the last time we had you on, we talked quite a bit about Columbus Speaks. Can you kind of remind everybody what Columbus Speaks is doing and give us some ideas of what we can look forward to in 2022?
So Columbus Speaks is an advocacy platform. We tell stories of the unheard, generally populations that have been more so marginalized. So we started our efforts within the Black community, but we're also looking at disadvantaged communities, special needs. There's a whole different spectrum that we can dive into. So it's not just traditionally those voices, but we want those voices who haven't been heard to be able to have a place to be able to tell their stories. So in 2020 was like our big and hello to the world. 2021 was going pretty steady, and then I got hired. So we put together a team to kind of assist us. And we're right now trying to figure out what 2022 looks like, with the realization of my time is kind of split. Thankfully, the team is pretty ready to rock and roll. I just got to sit down and do the vision. We are 100% still active. A lot of stuff we kind of do behind the scenes. We haven't been too active on social media and stuff. And that's, again, mostly because I was trying to figure out what I want to do in this new world. How do I wear all these hats? So for 2022, I think you'll see more of the traditional give back stuff. We want to provide options for people to give either their time or money to different causes. I think you'll see more traditional outlets of help in that sense. We want to provide volunteer opportunities as well. So there's a lot of things that we had to put on hold because of COVID that we can now bring to life as the world shifts and changes. So I think that's what you'll see more of in 2022.
So don't judge off of social media. There's a world outside of it, folks. Yes. People are living in and doing things in.
That is so true. So
Twitter ain't real life, guys.
Believe it or not.
Real place.
I know, it's crazy. Well, awesome. And Todd, this is not the end of getting to know more about you. We do have some focus crew questions because obviously bringing you on here and the fact that we start in Columbus, Ohio. I know Bryant moved. I'm still here. And we talk a lot about the crew off season, not as much, but as the season kicks off, we're diving in. So we have some questions for you from those supporters that you are liaisoning?
There's a funny story about
representing.
Oh my God. But yes, let's just say I am assisting these human beings. And
okay.
Their stories. Let's say that.
That's okay. That we can go with assisting the story. First question is from Homer Olson at Homer Drizzy. These are all from the Twitter sphere. What measures are being taken to try to get more participation out of the rest of the crowd, non-Nordeca, at the dot for chance?
So that's a very good question. For me, it's going to be a bunch of that intentional storytelling from my end personally. When I do my supporter summit, it's definitely going to be kind of propping up the Nordeca to realize they're a very important part of telling that story. Like, you want the people outside of the Nordeca to be actively engaged. Mm-hmm. So the Nordeca has to be a very strong leader in that. But I also have to tell the story intentionally of like why it's great to participate. I am by no means saying every single person in the stadium needs to stand up. Not saying that. Right. But I think there's a level of engagement that the energy from the Nordeca drives in. So there's a couple of new elements that we're going to bring that I think will organically allow people to just partake. There will be times where I tell people, hey, join in. Like, you can join in. Because it's not me telling them what to do. It's more saying, hey, you can do. And I think that's what we've run into. There's a lot of people so either in awe of the stadium that they kind of like miss that, or just it's so new to them, they don't know what to do. I have to be able to show those humans and families that like you can be a part of this. And it kind of goes back to that whole giving ownership of your fanhood. I got to provide those opportunities. So to give a really good answer, non-answer, stay tuned. And like, honestly, like stay pretty tapped into crew channels because I'm going to do some cool things to like explain. There's a lot of re-education this year. So that's how we're going to bring that full stadium engagement back.
I like it. No, that makes a lot of sense. I think, having been to games and sat at both the Nordeca and not, I unfortunately haven't been to a game at the new stadium yet, but having gone at, Matt Free a number of times. I think once you kind of pick up the chants and kind of learn them and can kind of, sometimes it's hard to understand exactly what they're saying, but if you can maybe if they're singing, pick up the rhythm of the song and just kind of, mumble along with it. I think the more people can feel like that's okay, like this isn't just a Nordeca thing, this is like an entire stadium thing. I think more people can be encouraged, but not feel pressured into it, I think is a big deal.
And that's a real thing I've got to tackle. I said in Nordeca first, because this is no fault of anyone, but I think we got a lot of praise around the league for the new Nordeca. But I've sat with some of the Nordeca leaders and we all agreed that we can take this to the next level. There's a lot of synergy in that bottom row, because if you really think about it, a lot of that's the initial 1,100 or so that came from the old stadium. But you've got about like 2,400 other people that are brand new that are like in the section. They're here for it, but they don't know how to participate, or maybe like don't know that they can. I actually take calls from people like who didn't know flags were allowed in the section, or they're like, people are chanting and they're not sitting down, like they're there. So I have to like prop up, like, this is a dope experience. Let's be a part of it together. And from there, I think if I get that Nordeca to be all the way one voice, the help of like all of my fantastic capos and my Tifo sweat leaders and all of my good friends that work over there, they are going to help take this thing to the next level. Like, I think the Nordeca like group, and I say that like the membership group, they have so many like amazing individuals that are doing a lot of work they're going to bring to life. And it's like me coming alongside to support and prop them up. That's going to help bring that Nordeca together. And once that Nordeca is together, and you guys see how crazy that is, spreads across the stadium.
Yeah.
That, of course, is the hope. And that's what I'm going to work for.
Right on. So our good buddy, Brian, sorry.
It's all good. No, it's all right. Dogs.
Doggies.
Snoop Doggies. Oh, chewing on a flip-flop.
But it's her mom, so she was chewing on mine. Cool deal. But her mom's different story. Okay, next question. I'm ready for it. I was really excited for this segment. I'm like super excited. I want to see who can ask questions and stuff.
This is cool. So our good buddy Brian Lanoy, Crew Cat, leader of also the Columbus Canaries, he wants to know what outreach plans are being developed for non-Nordeca season ticket supporters.
A lot, to be honest. To be purely honest, a lot. That's like bluntly. I said this earlier. There's a reintroduction to the Crew in general. A lot of the city is kind of discovering us either for the first time or they're coming back to us. So a lot of emphasis is actually on bringing that person into the family. If they're asking for specifics, it's going to be in the form of events. It's going to be in the form of, I call them like ways to align with the club and have positive experiences. So that can be in-person events. It could be online forums. It could be initiatives that we do. I want there to be Crew adjacent activities that you can leave having a positive experience with. So when you come back, you're like, I want to do more of this. I want to be part of this family. Where's this family at? Oh, they hang out at that new stadium on the weekends. Dope. Let's do that. So there's different mechanisms I'm going to try to pull to help do that. I work a lot with Carissa in community relations, and she's a phenomenal resource when it comes to like the give back portion. And I also work with Joe and Emily in Nordeca. So like, how do we amplify those moments where they're doing things in community and bring people alongside that? And then flat out fun. I mean, I work with Pat in our like event staff, and just the events that he puts together, I want the people to be like, I want to do that. Like, I want them to have FOMO. I'm going to try to hopefully revamp watch parties a little bit, because I don't want to just be, hey, come, we'll turn the game on. It can be interactive. It can be fun. There's some different elements I can bring that you're experiencing the Crew outside of that. So futsal tournaments is a thing I want to do. And again, I'm speaking in long term, but this year for sure, you're going to see the like events in the community.
That's great.
That's awesome.
I mean, people also have to keep in mind that, I mean, you're new to the role, and even the stadium's brand new. They had to finish constructing it up until matches played last July. So this is the first full year of the force that is the Dot, which is what everybody calls it, and nobody calls it the LDC. People tried to for about a week, and I feel like that failed miserably.
I hear both. I'm not gonna lie. I hear both.
Oh, okay.
In my DMs, in my emails, I see both. So, but yeah, to piggyback back off of that, a lot of things I preached last year was let's get to 2022. There was a lot of us just figuring it out in 21.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of experiences that may have not been positive in 2021, and I recognize those fully. But 2022 is a fresh start. You know, when it comes to the stadium, I feel like last year it was like, you know, moving in a new house. But now we're going to finally unpack all those boxes of art that we love. We're going to actually live in the house now. So like 2022 is about new beginnings and refreshing it. And if I can get hopefully people to give us a chance, you know, this thing can be freaking great. So,
you know what the rule is too about moving. If you have any boxes that are still unpacked, you have not moved in yet. So I'm glad to hear that we've opened up all the cardboard boxes. I'm not trying to shoot right at you, Brian, but
I was gonna say, did Alyssa like tell you guys to bring this conversation up on the podcast?
If you're feeling convicted, man, that's on you. Next question from our pal Keith Noss at Noss. We know who K Noss is. Rewind. When might we see another casual Crew virtual chat? I thought the first one he did was good.
Yeah, that was a really cool thing. I was able to get permission to kind of talk about some things that we were going to do this year. At the time, it was Crew 2. At the time, it wasn't also public knowledge yet. So I was just like, hey, I want to have a chat. Let's join me. Let's do it. And even after I got done with the Cruise 2 stuff, we had a really cool just chat. I will have, when I can say this on record, after the first match, I'm going to do a tell me about your day type of thing. And I'm going to reach out to Nordeca, non-Nordeca, and for kind of like a forum on Zoom. And I want to hear about their crew experience. I want to hear the good, the bad, hopefully not any ugly. But I want to know like what that day meant to them, how they felt about it, so I can kind of like help set a benchmark for where like we're going. So Keith, that will be the next time, sometime after the first match, before the San Jose match, I think. So
sweet.
So next question is from this person who is a lifelong believer in the Bengals since January 2nd of 2022. So I like it. Thomas is a big Bengals fan, really rooting for him in the playoffs this year.
I've said this on the pod before. Sports are where I can be petty. And as a Browns fan, I will be petty AF that I hope the Chiefs beat them, even though Brittany Mahomes is showering people with champagne who are not asking for it. I still will root for the Chiefs to beat the Bengals. How dare you? So at Hey Look, a Turtle. Got a lot going on with the name. I love turtles too, but take it away, B. Ryan.
So do you expect any adjustments, if any, from last year for the fan experience at matches to be subtle to start, or do you expect some adjustments to be pretty obvious pretty quick?
That's a good and a really loaded question.
And we picked this one because there are a lot of questions similar to this, so we kind of lumped them together. Everybody else who asked a similar question about the chants and all that, this is what encompasses all of your questions.
So there's going to be two answers to that, because there's two like segments to it. From a pure optics, what you see, what you hear, that type of thing, I think you will notice it's louder, more cohesion. I know for a fact, like the brass is getting bigger. The drum line is doing some cool things. The capos are going to do some new cool things this year. And we're trying to do some stuff first match to do that. So optically, yes, it's there. From a back end side of things, I think it will be, I don't want to call it subtle, but it'll be noticeable. Our service team is like stacked now. Like there's so many more of them to help you around the stadium and help your experience. We heard a lot of the feedback from last year. So there'll be enhancements and such. Some will be subtle, some will be in your face. I don't know if you guys saw the betting partner announcement.
Yeah.
Recently. So like just money from that brings enhancements that will be really cool. And you'll see some of those things start to pop up. So I don't like to say super subtle, because then that means like, oh, I didn't notice it. I want you to notice the changes. I want you to notice and celebrate the good. But I think you'll see most of the changes optically first, if that makes any sense. And then by the end of the year, you're just like, oh my God, what are these crew matches I've been going to? Like, goodness gracious. So
nice.
We'll go from there.
That's great. So look out for those things, folks. And then over time, it's just going to creep up on you. So Terry Barber Jr. at Terry_Barb Jr. Could you discuss what some of your specific goals, objectives are for the 2022 related to your role as manager of supporter relations? And how do you plan to meet those goals? How will you measure whether you've met or exceeded those goals? I did say this did sound like a performance review question.
I was going to say this. Terry sounds like they may be a leader of some kind in some kind of corporate setting.
But I love it. Like, what are your goals? How are you going to measure them? How are you going to reach them?
Yeah. So I do have like on paper goals. A lot of them are about, obviously, how should I say this? There's a couple of metrics that I like to like move the needle on when it comes to fan experience. I also want to intentionally integrate like a little bit more of Columbus's diversity into the stands, because I think that will help also change culture a little bit and bring a little bit more umph to it. And then also for me, it's really big about doing things in the community, because the community is just coming back into it.
Yeah.
How I measure it, if we want to get like kind of deep into it, and I'll do more high level. I'm going to look at a couple of things: game day experience, match day viewership, like on TV. I'll look at merch sales. That is actually a big like indicator of fanhood, because that's you putting your like hard-earned cash to one of the more expensive things.
Yeah.
And then also like engagement around non-match day events. I'm looking at the data that's attached to that. So I'll measure that through different channels. I'll look at different lenses to kind of like bring those metrics to life, and then hopefully I can move the needle on all those things. So
It's awesome.
That's awesome.
That's it. Like I actually tidbit for the supporter summit. I actually will walk through my vision. So if you guys are there, I haven't released it. I know the date. It's being worked on. It'll be released, I think, tomorrow or the day after. So by the time people listen to this, it'll probably have been announced. But at the summit, you actually will get a walkthrough of my vision, the whole deck and numbers, and it won't be boring. I've made it to where like I have like 3 different versions. I have the one for ownership, just like they want to know what's going on. Then I have the one for like
numbers.
Yes. Then I have my internal team where like we know like how do we all support each other in this. And then I have the one for the fans. So like I don't want to bore them, but I also want them to be like, hey, there is an actual like plan and vision for it. So they will get tapped in all the way. So Terry, come through to the supporter summit, and I'm working on some streaming options. So if you can't come or COVID stuff, there will be a way that like people can adjust it. So stay tuned.
Awesome. That's awesome. And all of these things you're hearing from Ty, like I was working on like a project for school, and Ty and I spent some time together, and just like this is not just podcast fodder or anything like that. Or this is before he was officially hired onto the crew. This is a lot of awesome things, a lot of awesome ideas that I think you'll start to see come to fruition. 2 more questions from the folks before we get into the non-soccer. And I lied about non-soccer. There are a couple that I sprinkled in when we get to the Ask Bam segment, but we're going to finish your individual roasting, I guess, interrogation with 2 more questions. These are from the Instagrammers.
I didn't even know they were tapped into like, I didn't know there was a question thing for this. Okay.
Yeah. I sent this out to the gram too. First one is from Cheyenne Foster. You might know her as Between Clean Sheets. Yeah, we know Cheyenne. What have you learned? This is when I saw this question, I was like, oh, dang. Okay. What have you learned about yourself since taking this role?
Wow, Cheyenne.
That's why I thought, I was like, I can't forget this question. This is a good one.
Good. That's a really good one. I'm going to be vulnerable here. In a weird way, I was able to confirm that I'm valuable and that I matter. And I wouldn't say I struggled with that like hardcore, but there were times, like in 2020, especially, where you kind of like, you felt like everything is like hanging on by a thread. You kind of wonder like why we're doing what we're doing. And I wondered sometimes if like my work meant anything, if it mattered to anyone. And not that I look for affirmation. For me, it was more like I just want to do good and help others. And this role has allowed me to be like, honestly, able to give back. Thomas, you know this, a lot of what I do, there's a give back component. Mm-hmm. And for me, I'm now able to share the joy and love that I find in this sport and use it as a vehicle to help others create new memories, to be able to create new passions, to be able to bond and grow community. And what they do with that, like, honestly, could be unmeasurable. And in a way, the small things that I do on Match Day or the small interactions I have on Twitter, I'm learning they matter. I got a note today. Like, I have a mailbox, and like I almost never check it, and I checked it today, and someone wrote a note, and they were just like, this conversation you had, like, you listened, and it meant a lot, and now I'm doing XYZ, and I'm just like, that's wild to me. I'm just little old Tyler. Yeah. It's weird. So I guess to answer your question, it just helped me see that, like, I matter, the things I do matter, and the stories of others that I am helping, like, also matter. Like, I like, for real quick, I'll kind of say this too. I know Cheyenne probably didn't ask for this, but like, one of my biggest things is that, I want to let voices be heard. I feel like a lot of us go through life, and sometimes we don't feel seen or don't feel heard, and people don't relate, and you just kind of are out there. And I want to, with all the small things I can do, let people know that they do matter. I mean, I hear all different opinions around crew stuff. I hear people that love where we're going. I hear people that absolutely hate it. I have people that don't care. But at the end of the day, that's real to them. And if they are giving me the honor of listening to them, I want to be able to actively listen and engage that. I want to be able to hear their story, because at the end of the day, that mattered to them. And maybe I was the only person that listened. I don't know. So I want to continue doing that. I want to continue to give back and remember that everything I do somehow matters.
That's amazing. As amazing as a question. Thanks for sharing that. I mean, we've talked about in past episodes, mental health is always a big topic that we try to talk about in our discussions. And one of the things I think when we talk about Sarah Spain was like imposter syndrome. And you're thinking, what am I doing it for? Why am I doing it? And just hearing that you're able to get confirmation on that is awesome. And also one of the byproducts to hopefully of that confirmation is that we can see matches that are as diverse as the city. Because one thing, I mean, Thursday is the U.S. national team. I'm going to go on a side rant a little bit. A lot of the feedback was, well, you're playing it in Columbus for racist reasons because, okay, you want to have a home match. That's a lot of that is for people who maybe don't know much about Columbus, because Columbus is a diverse city. It's not a farm city like people think it is from outside of Columbus, but when you see matches and when you see like a crew match, it could represent what people think of it. And I think awesome reaching out to people. And I know for the team, and like you talk about 3 different decks, right? Leadership is looking for certain measurements to see that, but in the stands, seeing it be a more diverse place and representing the city that actually is in the name of the club, that's huge.
Yeah. And that's again, like, one of my biggest goals. I feel blessed to be able to partake in this sport. And I know a lot of people with my background don't get to, and even other people who have backgrounds that are not like mine. But there's so many of us with these diverse stories and backgrounds, like they deserve to also experience this sport. It is the world's game. It's a game for the people, of the people. And I think they should be here and enjoying this thing.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. One last question. Oh, sorry, Brian.
How do we follow that up? We should have left Cheyenne's for the last.
I think what you said really about mattering really hit home for me. Thomas and I talk about mental health. We talk about things a lot. We both had to choose a word for the year, like to describe kind of what we're focusing on for the year. And my word literally was matter. It was reminding like myself that the things I do matter, and to focus on things that do matter to me. So hearing you say that, I think really drove that home. So that's it's cool to hear, just again, not feeling alone in that kind of thought. So that was cool to hear. That hit home for me a lot.
It's so real. And I mean, to even echo that, like you both do matter. The amount of people that I hear that have listened to your podcast, even though you guys downplay it, like they love what you do. They love the conversations you bring. And even outside of that, you as humans, I mean, Thomas, I interact with your colleagues all the time. Like the things you guys do matter. So, and you matter as well. So I really appreciate you guys.
That's cool.
It's enough of that now, Ty. Brian, so take 2 things away from it. 1, you matter, and 2, clean out the damn moving boxes. All right. Last question before we go. No holds barred cage match. All of us start answering questions. Robbie Rogers wants to know, why should I become a Crew fan? He is a NWSL supporter. He is a Gotham supporter. It is in every fiber of his DNA. Why should he support the Crew?
For a second, I was like, Robbie Rogers should know why he supports the Crew. I was like, what? Like, first of all, Robbie, this is a different Robbie Rogers.
He's not an MLS. No, this is not former MLS Cup champion Robbie Rogers. This is Robbie. Maybe that's why he should become a Crew fan, because of Robbie Rogers.
Right? Why to become a Crew fan? Number 1, we are the Charter 1 team. We are literally the foundation that this league was built on. You can't. This is a family podcast. You can't screw with us. So we are the literal OGs. We are a team that gets it done. We are one of the honestly better teams in the league, and that's not me just saying it from bias. Statistically, we are. I think we're top 5 through history. I think at one point it was top 3. I don't know if Seattle kind of threw that off at some point. Unfortunately, I know we hate Seattle, but guys, they win a lot.
I can respect them.
They win a lot. But like, you're gonna always see a winning team. You're gonna always see a team that fights. They're a team that's also really mirroring the community that Columbus is. I've been around a lot of teams, and sometimes you get the divas or the characters that just don't make sense sometimes. But like Columbus usually finds players that not only are good, but also embody the city. So you can get that ownership of this is my team.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we've got a really kick-ass stadium. So please come on down. And like Robbie, if you're out there, let us know when you're in here, and Thomas and I will give you the tour. And yes, Thomas, I'm putting you to work here. We're gonna
Let's do it.
the tour. And
come to Columbus, Robbie.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Is Robbie a guy or you're
Robbie is a guy. Yeah, Robbie is a guy. He is in the U.S. Navy. He lives out east, but he's also single with all that military money. So he travels all the time. So he needs to get to Columbus in 2022. No excuses.
I just don't want to misgender or anything because I know Robbie and they are like super dope, but like I wasn't sure. So Robbie, I'm just checking.
It's always great. It never hurts to ask. That's always great to ask. It's better than assuming, right?
All right.
Now this is it. You answered all the questions. Now since you were last on the show, quick preface. Our show's gone downhill a lot since the last time you were on the show. A lot of the content we get now are questions from the multiverse, Spider-Mans and all. And we get, these are non-soccer questions. We want non-soccer related topics. So we go through a list of the craziest things you can ever imagine. And we're going to dive right in. Brian.
It's been all over the place. There's been like deep philosophical questions. There's been like, what's your favorite hot dog condiment? There's been like, in anything in between. So this one was first from our good buddy Mike Hudson. Can you explain why I fell down the stairs last week while listening to the question segment?
This might be for us. We might just start with this one. Mike, nothing shocks me about you falling down the stairs, but you can't blame us. We have no legal liability, and I will sick my lawyers on you if you try to blame us for you falling down the stairs.
Ditto.
I would say also I have a reason because I know it is. So what was probably happening in this question statement, you guys were actually probably praising him because, Mike's dope. And, just got so just flabbergasted that he missed a step. So this is your fault, guys.
Oh my God. All right. This is all coming back to me because of the NWSL championship. I brought down a group there were 5 of us, probably one too many people in that vehicle, 5 of us going down to Louisville for the NWSL championship. 4 of the 5 had never been to an NWSL match. So their first match is the NWSL championship. We're sitting in the Red Star section because Columbus doesn't have an NWSL team. We are Chicago Red Star supporters. And Mike Hudson is cheering on the Washington Spirit right next to me. And I am just outside of like, okay, I know you got Trinity Rodman, probably the best player that's going to play for the U.S. for the next like 5 to 10 years. They have some great talent, but he was celebrating next to me after the match. I was so aggravated. I might have told him to shut the fuck up. I might have. I don't know. I don't remember. So maybe he fell down the stairs because you said we're always so kind to him on the podcast.
Yeah, see, I said
Maury opened up the envelope. That was a lie. That was a lie. Oh boy.
One of our good friends and all around great folks in soccer podcast, Soccer Noob, asked 2 questions. First of all, cutting out soda, gradual or cold turkey?
Gradual.
I'd say I got rid of pop when I was younger through Lent. Back when I was rocking my Catholic days, I just got rid of it for Lent, and then I didn't go back to it. Like today, I can barely drink like a 20 ounce or a can. So I would say go for it, Soccer Noob, and just say cold turkey. I'm done.
I would like to call out Thomas for 2 seconds. He said he can barely drink. That means he does drink from time to time. There's
barely.
A sip of something. So you gotta like ease yourself into it so you can have a full immersive experience where you never drink any.
Life is about moderation, but if you go cold turkey for a couple of weeks, then you can slowly integrate it in very smaller doses, very much smaller doses. I'm really good at the words. Brian, what do you think?
I'm not a cold turkey guy. Like I can't do cold. I tried to give up coffee a few years ago. It didn't take. It didn't last long, but
Headaches.
I successfully gave it up for a little bit, and the headaches were just brutal. Like I had to kind of wean myself off of it, and then I picked it right back up because addiction and all. Um, but when I did have success for a month, give or take, and the success was slowly decreasing the amount of coffee I was drinking because if I quit cold turkey, man, the headaches were just brutal. So
Cold turkey soccer noob. Cold turkey.
So Thomas's good friend. Another question from Soccer Noob, real quick. How much, Ty? How much do you bench?
Oh, oh my goodness. Not as much as I would like to. Let's put it that way. There was a time in my soccer playing days, and even recently during COVID, where I was about that life. Let's let that number be mystery.
There we go.
I'm glad that he asked Ty.
It's ever changing. It's fluid. Sometimes it surprises me. I get in there and I'm like, "Whoa, look at you, man."
I'm glad he asked Ty and not us. Moving on.
I think I could get the bar up.
Yeah, there's a regimen, and I do still try to stay rather active. You guys alluded to that with soccer. I didn't get into weightlifting until I was honestly like out of school.
Okay.
So it's still a new thing. So
okay.
Thomas's good buddy Kaylee, chair of the Columbus Spurs social media. She says, and this is also our official Frank Barber Memorial question of the night. Sponsored by Tang.
Sponsored by Tang, not the orangutan of Tang, but sponsored by the company.
And longtime listeners of the show will kind of get the inside joke there. So choose one non-edible thing to make edible, and this thing becomes edible and also delicious.
So this is choose willy-nilly, like
something that's not edible. Something that's not edible.
It's not edible, becomes edible, and it's delicious.
First of all, before I answer, I want to thank Kaylee for her service as leading the Columbus Spurs. I've interacted with her a couple of times, and the streets are hard for us Spurs fans right now. The streets are just difficult.
No, there's definitely some vitriol. There's some blood in that water, Ty. I don't want you to think that they're all just salt to the earth. I know you're a Spurs supporter, but they're out for blood, and they'll get it whenever they can.
Yeah, let's think of One of you guys go first. I need to think on that. That's a good question.
Mayonnaise. I think mayonnaise is not edible, and I think it could be edible, and it'd be delicious. If you can make mayonnaise delicious, I'll eat it. Mayonnaise
is already delicious.
No.
See, I was going way outside the box. The first thing that popped into my head is dirt, just because there's so much of it. Like there's dirt everywhere. So
and world hunger, everyone can just eat.
Like if I just say dirt is all of a sudden edible, there's nutritional value. I assume we're giving it some sort of nutritional caloric value.
We just said delicious. So delicious is the only metric I think that.
Well, yes, but I could eat some of it and be like full. Like I don't know, I could eat it as like, I don't know, there's a caloric value to it.
Okay.
I assume there probably is anyway, but
it's not delicious.
It's just it's so plentiful that I'm like, dirt's everywhere. Let's make dirt delicious.
In that vein, this is such an interesting question. I probably pick like pebbles or something because I feel like they're always around as well. And same thing, like you just pick it up, like, oh, this is a good looking pebble. But it tastes good. I don't know.
You know who would love that one, Ty? Dentists. Dentists want you to eat rocks. They would love that.
They're like, please, you're gonna make all of our pockets richer.
Yes.
I love that.
Wash it down with a Hershey bar. Yes.
We've got Andrew Johnson. I'm assuming this is not the former 17th president of the United States.
At rat called AJ.
AJ
asks, knowing that he will burn off all the calories and sugar during the 10 amateur league game he plays a week, if Ty was forced to eat a dozen cookies in a row, what kind of cookies are you eating?
I'm torn between sugar cookie and I do enjoy like a chocolate chip with macadamia nut,
Mm.
and the chocolate would be dark. Would be like dark chocolate.
You're going big cookies here. Okay.
Yeah. The thing is, I'd be sad of like, why am I eating a dozen of these delectable delights all at the same time? Like, control yourself, son, and just enjoy it each one by one. Save some for tomorrow. But that would be the cookie I would choose.
Brian, how about you take this one next?
I'm well, since it's Girl Scout cookie season, which
Respect.
I'm trying to find a hookup for some Girl Scout cookies around here because I don't know anybody that sells them. I used to have a hookup in Columbus, but I need to find a hookup here in Charlotte.
They went DoorDash. Man. I don't even see them at Giant Eagle. They don't even stand out there. Maybe the whole COVID thing.
You can. I'm going to go Samoas from the Girl Scout cookie Samoas. I love anything. Love anything with coconut. So like Samoas with the coconut, the caramel, chocolate. I'm not going to say I have eaten a dozen of those in a row, but I'm sure I have.
Macaroon. I think a macaroon falls into that coconut sphere.
Absolutely.
So Ty, you went like baked, like delicious, like from a bakery type cookie or, homemade. I could just think of what's a speedier cookie I could eat. Oreos. I mean, Oreos is it. I think second would be tagalongs. I would not put Thin Mints on there. I think 12 mint things in a row is just too much. I know I'm going to get the Thin Mint mafia out against me because there are people out there who get angry if you don't say Thin Mints are the best cookies, but tagalongs are so much better. I'll put Samoas above Thin Mints.
There we go. Okay.
Plant
your flag, son. Plant your flag.
If I'm going to plant in something, it's going to be cookies.
Couple questions here from Joe Johnstone. What are
you? Of Joe's?
Hey,
happiest of Joe's.
Happiest of Joe's. What are you most excited about for the upcoming season?
That's a loaded question too. Can I answer like three things? Can I say like three things that I'm excited about?
Go for it.
Number one, for it to start. Like I am just so excited for it to start. There's so much. I felt like last year was so much of us like just learning and obviously on the team side of things, there was just, the injuries and all that stuff. I'm excited to see a fresh team and get back at it. I want the league to see what we're about. Number two, the influx of new players. Oh my gosh. We've got some talent coming into the league. Pretty good friends with a lot of like admins or even scouts or technical directors across the league. And when they like announce these signings, sometimes I'll just be like, hey, I see what you're doing over there. Making me have to watch your team for a hot second. But I'm really excited for that. And then third, honestly, the lead into the World Cup. I love the World Cup. It's my favorite thing. So it's going to be interesting seeing the storylines of different players that we know and love already that are going to make their mark on that tournament, but also some that I think that could surprise us. I mean, if you really think about it, I think there's actually a stat about this World Cup will have the most MLS players ever. And just because the talent has gone up. So I'm super excited for all of that this year.
Yeah.
And
I need Jossie at the World Cup.
Dude, we'll have Columbus parallels, which is super great. And we have Greg, Jossie, Zach. It's gonna be great. But and then to top it off, a crew playoff run. Excited for us to do some work. A home playoff match. Oh my God. Let me just take that in.
Do you have to do your managing of supporter liaisoning on Thursday? Do you have to do that at the U.S. match too, or do they have the U.S. soccer? Okay.
U.S. soccer runs the show, so like that's the thing that I guess some people don't realize. When U.S. soccer comes down, they literally are like rent/own the building. Thomas, you know this. So
thanks for the building.
Yeah. So for me, I become pretty close with like some of the match day production people, and then also AO, and then also because there's like the AO Nordica like connection, so
coagulation.
Yes. I sometimes tend to lend my talents and help make sure the show is great, because I will say last year the people in the know, no biased fans, Columbus brought it. Columbus brought the fire. I did get to go to USA Mexico. I have friends at the Nashville one, a couple of friends at the Austin one, and all those stadiums fantastic. But the Columbus apparently ranked near the top of the atmosphere, and that's why they're coming back. So I want to be a part of helping it be great. Go Columbus!
But it's too cold for Grant Wall. Sorry, I'm not.
I enjoy Grant.
No, I do too. But
I'm gonna run up there and say hello to him as well on on a match day because I need to stay warm, to be honest. So it's a twofer.
That's true. But if you have a home field, every country will play to their advantages. If it's going to be real, and also because they have to go to Canada next week, so it's going to be freaking cold. Why not? Why would you play somewhere super warm and then 3 days later play in Canada? You need to be ready for it. So I'm all aboard. I'm all aboard for going to.
Can I give a quick tidbit on that? So I've become friends with some people that work in and around the Canadian national team, and even Liam Fraser, who was here. I talked to him from time to time, but they're built for it, and they are so up for like the situation they're in. I remember one of my friends who's like one of the team photographers for the like Ice Teca game, and I was like, dude, I am so concerned. And he was like, bro, this is fall. This is
not even bad
yet. He's like, wait till winter gets here. He's like, wait till winter gets here, man. He's like, we ready. We about to eat this up. And they're enjoying the limelight. Canada has been really fun to watch. So, I mean, if that's what they're going to do, then I guess you got to come here and play as well. And we'll figure this thing out. We're going to qualify, but we're going to figure this thing out through the cold.
Heard it here first. Brian, what are you looking forward to?
I mean, I think Ty kind of took it. Like, I'm looking for a crew play. I'm looking forward to a crew playoff run, right? Like, we're getting healthy. We brought some talent in. I want to see what this team's really got when they're like we said. I don't think they had the same lineup in a match.
They didn't
at all last season in any game. So having a more consistent lineup, I think having those guys, it is a World Cup year, so you've got some of those guys that really want to show what they can do to try and cement that spot on a World Cup roster. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm on record as saying that Lucas Zelarayan is going to win MLS MVP this year. Ooh. That was my bold prediction for the crew. So yeah, I'm looking forward to an MVP season. Is what I'm looking forward to.
That's bold, baby. And you talk about World Cup, man. Milos Dejanek, who came here, Aussie, born in Serbia, played in Aussie. He's been there most of his life. He even said, like, he came to Columbus because he wants to be ready for the World Cup. Like, since that World Cup moved to the end of the year, it's causing some players like, where can I stay conditioned? Where can I keep going? And MLS goes right up against the beginning of the World Cup. So I've been thinking about it like a lot. That this is what I'm excited for. I'm excited for the Crew's defense to get back to where it was. Cause like you said, I had a spreadsheet. The Crew never played the same 11 twice the whole season. Like I think they average between like 2 or 3 changes per match. It changes in people on the roster because so many injuries, so many people having to rotate. Liam Fraser was played as center back. Like they signed this dude, Yeboah, that's huge up in winger. But then also you signed this Dejanek guy who I think it's going to be crazy. It's like signing is what we wanted to do with Vito, but then subtract 5 years and add more international experience.
I want to just real quick pour one out for our man Vito. I know he got a really bad rap, but
it's tough
I feel bad because I think he never got the look we wanted to see. The first 2 games was like probably who he was, and he just wasn't the player that we scouted after that ankle injury. Like literally, that injury can take people out. So I think I give him, from a human standpoint, kudos for like getting through that season because that injury was supposed to take him out, and he fought through it. So
it's already hard. Like even Mensa, he had issues this first season. People are like, "Why did you sign this?" It always takes defenders a little bit of time to adjust to Major League Soccer. I think because they come in thinking it's a cakewalk, and Vito didn't even have that time. He got injured, like you said, and then when he did come back, he's playing against Williams, Keita, and he could never really get a fair chance to. I think he could have, but honestly, too, I'm also glad that the Crew are now in a space where they're signing dudes in their mid-20s and not their mid-30s, because I think that's what MLS needs.
Our profile is completely different when it comes to attracting players. It's just different. We'll talk offline about that, but it's just different.
I really want to hear. Somebody from the media, please get Dejanek's thoughts on that horrifying tunnel at Red Star Belgrade. Have you seen this, Ty?
Yes.
It is the scariest thing. It is like, it looks like something out of a horror movie or something.
It's like Saw. It's like Saw.
I cannot imagine walking into that stadium with that's a whole different type of crazy.
Yes, 100%.
Liverpool lost there. Yeah. Now they had it was like they played a lot of bench guys, but Liverpool went into the stadium and got manhandled by them, and
when Tottenham went there, they put a release out to people that bought tickets for the match, like, don't wear Tottenham gear walking anywhere near the stadium. Go directly to the stadium from your hotel. Like, I can't even imagine, man. Nothing is going to scare him in MLS when he's played through that one. Also from JJ, toilet paper, over or under?
Okay.
Over.
Over all day.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like look at it. You see what I was like?
It's got to, yeah, over.
Yeah, over.
I don't care. It's toilet paper.
All right. From lifelong, hey, look a turtle, lifelong believer in the Bengals since 2022. Can all fans in attendance be given a jackhammer? What could possibly go wrong?
Oh, let me count the ways of how many things could go wrong.
Mini jackhammer.
Yeah.
Mini jackhammer.
You know, if you had a mini jackhammer that wasn't operational,
Right.
I'm thinking of kind of a neat idea. Cool.
A bobble jackhammer. A bobble jackhammer.
If I give intoxicated humans their own jackhammers, you would see a war that you've never seen before break out in that section, and there will be such a horrifying sound. I don't want to put us through that, Turtle. I can't remember your whole username. So, no, we are not all giving out jackhammers.
And I am team jackhammer over here, by the way. I love the jackhammer. Keep it going. I love it.
We're going to work on some things to bring it more to life. We learned as much as people have their thoughts on it, the kids love it. And sometimes you got to do things for the kids, you know? And there's a lot of adults that love it too. Like, honestly, there are actually more people that like it than don't. And I will say that because I look at all the surveys. So, like, it's a thing. But I understand people's angst with it. I just want people to give it a chance again. We're building something new. Let's try it out. And you are completely entitled if you don't like it. You're entitled to your opinion. You're not entitled. You're just entitled to your opinion. I want to clear that out. I don't want to not say anything bad at all. So
the crew will not have a Red Star Belgrade type tunnel, but I've seen the away tunnel and the bricks starting to build up of all the goals that get scored. It's pretty legit, and I think it will get to the point where it gets in the heads of these players, especially when they see maybe goals they've given up. I think that's going to really have that mental part make a little more fun. So I love it. Keep it going.
Is there all right? This is from our good buddy Frank Barber. Frank Barker, but we call him Barber because it annoys him.
I couldn't pronounce his name. I forgot his name was Barker, and I kept saying Barber, and then he didn't like it, so we just keep doing it.
So we'll rapid fire these. He always gives us like 100 questions. We actually got an episode coming up that are just going to be his questions. Okay. And there's going to be 101 of them. So if your house burned down, excluding any living thing, what's an item of yours you would grab?
Wow, I don't like this question.
Yeah,
probably my phone, I guess. Like, I gotta be able to contact people. I got memories there on it, like, photos and stuff. I don't really have a lot of physical photos because that would have been like in my old house as a child. I would have grabbed the family photo albums
for sure.
But I think now it'll probably just be my phone. I can at least get this taken care of. Wait, hold on. You said living things were taken out of it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Living things are fine.
The dogs. Like
living things are fine.
No,
not
the wife. Right. Yes. Not the wife, not the dogs. Right.
Yeah.
We're assuming they're all getting out.
Yes.
For me, I'm going to be sappy and sentimental. I've got for people that don't know, my mom passed away when I was in college. So, I mean, this was years and years ago. But I've got a DVD that my dad had made where they converted a bunch of home movies from when I was a little kid. So it's just like random home movies of like a birthday of mine or something. And just a lot of it because it has my mom in it. So I would definitely grab that DVD.
It goes down the same road slightly. There's this metal military box that I have for my dad. He was probably it was probably the 70s or in the late 70s he had it. And he had all these like letters between him and my mom from when they were younger and like teens and in love and stuff. And I have all the letters that my wife and I sent to each other when I was in the military, and have all these, like, every little bracelet from every kid that we've had is in there. I would grab that little metal box and get on out of there.
All right. Any tiny celebrity imitations or accents that you do? Frank apparently doesn't mean Sean Connery.
So this is so dumb and freaking nerdy. I can't do it anymore at all. But when I was younger, oh my God, this is embarrassing actually. I used to like love musicals, and one of my favorites was The Sound of Music, and I did Captain Von Trapp. So
Okay.
that was a thing. That was actually a thing. I don't know why it was a thing, but now the interwebs know. Oh my God.
Hey, I like musicals too. Not a thing wrong with musicals. I was in some musicals in high school.
Well, I still love musicals to this day. I just don't know why I chose Captain Von Trapp to be who I was like.
Sound of Music is a boss musical. Okay, there's nothing wrong with Sound of Music, and anyone gives any shade towards Ty for that. I mean, what? Come on, they haven't watched Sound of Music? It's like Brian saying he'd get rid of Friends. He's barely even seen an episode. So,
what about you, Thomas? Any celebrity impressions?
I can do impressions. I say I do them randomly. When I was a kid, I used to do Jim Carrey from Ace Ventura, because that's what I did as a kid, and my parents kept asking me to do it like over and over again. Like I feel like I can do some voices pretty well, but I'm traumatized as a kid. I can't do them on command. I can't do them if anybody asks me to or expects them to. But I can mess around a little bit with invitations and everything.
Here we go. I don't have any. I don't have any off the top of my head. Like, would you rather lose half your eyesight or half your hearing?
Eyesight. I love music too much. I can keep memories for the most part of what things look like, but I love music. I love people's voices, and not in a weird way. Like, I just enjoy hearing inflection and tone and emotion. I think I would miss all that. So, yeah.
I went the same answer. Same answer for basically the same reason. Like, I listen to music all day or podcasts, or I love good conversation. Yeah, I would want the full hearing.
I'd probably get rid of half the hearing, actually. Seeing kids grow up and seeing them clearly and everything, I would like that. I like seeing stuff. And seeing is believing.
That is what they say.
Is a perfect pass and run in soccer as unstoppable as a perfect pass and route in football?
Ooh.
It's more. I think it's equally unstoppable. If you can time a pass past the offside trap and you're in on a lot,
So
football is more unstoppable. Sorry.
You would think so. My thing was like, you can throw a perfect fast pass in football, but the defender could still be athletically able to take over that receiver.
Yeah.
So you could throw a perfect pass every single time, but that defender is just physically manhandling them. Because I always tell people, I used to wonder, when football is being played, it seems like the defense is held to dry. So we always recognize the ones who are good at it, because I think it's significantly easier to play offense and defense in football because of all the rules and stuff.
Right.
So if that person is just on it, perfect pass isn't going to make. I don't know. And that's my opinion. I think the physical factor throws me off, but I could just be speaking from my soccer world. So,
but if the pass is perfect and the route is perfect and they catch it and they're on their own and you have daylight, I would say that football is more unstoppable there, because American football, because in soccer you still have the goalie. No matter how perfect your pass is, you still have a line of defense you have to get through. So I think just from that kind of breakaway kind of sense, football Americana would get the slight edge in this.
Okay.
I think they're both good answers. I'm with football, the American football, only because there's less defenders there. So typically football is more of a route with a pass. You have, you're up against a corner or a safety or a linebacker. Usually it's more of a one-on-one matchup. Whereas, if you're in soccer, you're typically trying to get through an entire defense with a, kind of with a perfect pass or with a perfect run. and you do still have that keeper there. But I mean, if you pull the keeper off his line, then there we go. If you could get one answer from God, what would it be?
It's why. I have all my why questions that need to be answered. Just answer all the whys. And I feel like, yeah, that's it. Just answer the whys.
Yeah, I have a lot of whys too. I can't pick just one.
It's just a human thing. It's like,
Yeah.
you just need to know why,
All right. I mean, if I'm assuming God, God's going to answer anything I ask. What really happens after we die? Is there heaven and hell? Is there reincarnation? Is there nothing? Are we just like, is it just once you're dead, and that's it? That's it. Are we floating through the ether in space somewhere? Like, what happens?
Like the one thing we literally don't know. Like,
yeah,
just don't know.
Have no way to know until it happens, right? Like,
it's like, I know now.
Yeah. Oops. Jurgen Glog, aka Pete Gillette, he asks us, what was your best movie of 2021?
Ooh. I have one too. Hold on. Can someone else say their movie so I can think what I watched last year?
I was gonna say I'm trying to remember what I watched last year.
Ghostbusters Afterlife was my favorite movie of 2021.
Jeez, you know what? I really liked Dune. Dune came out on HBO Max. I've been meaning to read the book. I thought it was a really good movie.
Hold on. I'm literally being a nerd and saying 2021 movies. Because I feel like because we were still kind of inside, I watched a lot of TV, which I never do that. So that kind of took me out. But I'm seeing what some of the bigger names were. And I'm like, did I watch any of these? I might not have watched any movies last year.
Ty cannot answer.
We're done. Yeah, if you have more questions, let's do that, and then I will answer that at the very end.
Cool.
So I'm gonna see what I watched.
What are your favorite sandwiches in Columbus?
I don't get out enough to know the difference. So
do you need to be like Columbus centric or just in general what I get?
Top 3 sandwiches in Columbus.
Top 3 sandwiches. The question is, what are your top 3 sandwiches in Columbus?
I do enjoy the chicken sandwich at what's the place by Union?
The Eagle.
Yes, the Eagle. I have enjoyed our burger sandwiches. Are that
absolutely
okay? I do enjoy the Good Ale Burger at Good Ale Station. And randomly, don't laugh, but at Gresso's, sometimes at midnight, their grilled cheese sandwich hits the spot.
So, I love grilled cheese.
Nothing wrong with that. I'm a big believer in the hot chicken takeover just in general, and that getting the chicken sandwich, because then you get the coleslaw is already on the sandwich with the ranch, double bread. Can't beat it. Pretty much anything on the menu, kind of a hidden gem at C Senor in Grandview. It's kind of a hidden gem that I love. I honestly couldn't think of the Reuben at I want to say Katz's Deli, but it's not Katzinger's over in German Village.
Preston's Burger. Oof. Inside of Preston's Mushroom and Swiss, or any of the burgers you get, doesn't matter. Get all of them; they're all good. Oh man, I'm hungry. I'm so hungry. We got to answer these questions. I got to eat something.
And this was kind of a common question a few people asked. This one was from the LFC Columbus, the Liverpool
Salt of the Earth people. Those are great people over there at Liverpool's.
Any thoughts on opening the pub at the LDC or the Dot, whichever you want to call it, on non-soccer days? I think they were particularly talking about if any supporters groups would like to have a home, say for a non-crew, but say like a European club that they like to watch. Any thoughts on that?
There's so pre-COVID, that was part of the plan to have that activated as a full space. that is still part of the process. Working on that, and I particularly have not had anyone reach out to me. I think it's going to be kind of more of a soccer for all space, but I mean, I think that's a conversation I would love to have because I want to see the stadium activated outside of match day. So, hit me up. Let's have a conversation. I'll probably, if it becomes a Liverpool bar, I feel like everyone will get pissed off. So at the beginning of the day, it's a crew bar and it's a soccer bar. Mm-hmm. And if you want to come in and gesture soccer, let's go from there. But I think it's a conversation to be had. So
cool.
Yeah, I think they were specifically for non-Liverpool. I think Liverpool's kind of got their bars established, but maybe especially some of the clubs, like I think the Tottenham group's pretty established, Liverpool's pretty established, but some of the other groups that kind of wander around, go wherever.
Yeah,
I think the four-man City fans need a bar.
There's
I'm just kidding.
That connection, but yeah,
no,
I believe
I'm
like
just
they would like
kidding.
it. They would like it to have a presence, and I believe like a soccer component 100% makes sense. So that's that. Your followers have fantastic questions, by the way. This is these are not what I expected at all.
And we're cutting some too.
Yeah, we've cut a few just for the sake of time, because I know your time's valuable, and this is running long. But it's such a good
listen to this. I'm wondering how long, when will people stop? That's what I want to know.
Because all of our episodes are super long, because we just like talking to each other and we're long-winded. And people tell us they listen to the whole thing eventually. Now, whether that's true or not, and they're just saying that to be nice, we'll see. Really, last couple questions here from Matt Morris. After there was some backlash, obviously, with the rebrand last year. I know no one heard about it. Has there been any rumors of either a further rebrand or any kind of debrand, throwback kind of thing?
No, this is the brand we have. This is the brand I get to work with. This is what we're doing. It's just I know it's an answer people don't like, but I'm probably going to get that a lot at the summit. I'm working myself to be okay, how do I handle that? Which I'm pretty okay with answering the question. I had it did come up in that open forum I did. But at the end of the day, this is the brand we have. At the end of the day, we are supporting the guys in the field. This is our club. We get to watch our club here in Columbus, Ohio. We're not watching our club in some other city. If you want to ask my personal opinion, because I feel like people also want to know that as their supporter person, my personal take on it is that the logo for me doesn't change how I ingest the team. It doesn't change how I get to take in the team, but I 100% hear people that don't like it. I understand that it's bigger than that for some people, and I respect that. Just for me personally, I'm happier to be watching my team in Columbus, Ohio, instead of watching it in another city or not existing. So logos change through the years. I think there's ones that are well done and some that aren't. I'm just really happy to have the team. That's where I'm at. I'm really happy to have the team. And I know that sounds, I promise you guys, if you'd asked me this question before I got paid by the team, you would have got the same answer. I think just me. I don't know. It's just me.
As a matter of fact, I can recall a conversation because this was a land grant in the beer garden, right?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Y'all look,
proof.
This was my going away party.
Yeah.
When I was moving to Charlotte, you had very similar things to say that night. Thomas would confirm that, and I think Alyssa's asleep, but I think
this is April or May, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
After, I think it was the week it actually all came out, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
It was then. Yeah. I didn't understand it at the time, I understood it in a sense of why you rebrand. I didn't understand the product, but at the end of the day, I'm hey, this is my team's here. Yeah. We were also defending champions at the time. I had a lot of W's going for it. We're getting this new stadium. I just was happy, and that's just. I feel bad that it's so far there are people that haven't felt vindicated. But what I will say, and you can say this to any of your followers, I am 100% here to have a conversation about the rebrand. If you want to talk to me, vent about it, I will have it. I will call you, or you can call me. I don't care, because I think some people also felt like their voice wasn't heard during that. And I've had those conversations. I've had some calls, and people were at least I got to talk about it. I'm cool with that. So, crew fans, if you want to talk about it to a member of the front office, I'm here for that. And I know this will probably give me maybe a week of rebrand talk, but it's all right. I'm here for it.
Can't ask for more than that. Final question, also from Matt here. Would you rather do a frozen pizza or Costco food court pizza?
Frozen, 100%. Sealed, bring it to my house. I get to do what I want, like with all the accoutrement and toppings, whatever, like frozen every day. I can take a frozen pizza to the next level. Let me tell you.
Wow. Okay.
Like, don't just put it in the fridge, or not the fridge, freaking the oven.
Definitely don't put it in the fridge.
Yeah, don't put it just in the oven. Like, break out some extra cheeses, break out some oregano, some Italian assortment spices, basil, a little bit of hot sauce.
Oh, a lot of hot sauce, yeah.
I'm a hot sauce on my pizza guy. Yeah, for sure.
Bring the pizza to life, and some pepper flakes and black pepper. I'm telling you, bring the pizza to life. That was really strong. I apologize for how passionate I got over some frozen pizza.
No, I'm right there with you. I've never had Costco food court pizza, so I can't speak to its quality, but I can only imagine. So I'm gonna probably go with the frozen pizza, man. Like,
just the frozen pizza on its own, I would have said Costco, but I think you turned me into a believer with all the spices. So.
This is my opinion. It's in your house. Do what you want. There's no reason just to eat it as is. You do what you need to do to bring it to life, and people will thank you.
It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno, man.
Yeah.
What do you want on your tombstone?
Look at
pepperoni.
He's already feeling the vibes. Look at him.
I'm hungry now. Come on. Let's end the show, Brian.
Pizza party. It's gonna be great.
Ty, thank you so much. This has been great. I know we're in hour 5 of this episode, and we really appreciate you giving us the time, fresh off of soccer playing, dog whispering, and everything else going on in your life. We really appreciate you giving us your attention.
I appreciate you guys for reaching out. It's been great getting to know you guys just over the last couple of years, and honestly, this was great. This was fun. So,
a lot of fun. Bring it home, Brian. Bring it home.
So thanks everybody for taking the time to listen to us. We always certainly appreciate. We love every single one of you. Please interact with us on the social medias. We're at Bryant and Me on Twitter, also at Bryant and Me on Instagram. You can follow Thomas on Twitter and Instagram at one Thomas Costello. Pay attention to all the good stuff that he's writing, doing some writing for Massive Report, Beyond Women's Sports, covering Ohio State women's basketball for Beyond Women's Sports as well. Doing a lot of writing. So please give him a follow, share those stories, read those stories. They're of very high quality, very good stuff.
Got some good ones coming out this week. Sorry, I interviewed somebody within the Cruise front office just tonight for an article coming out in the next couple of days. I'm not talking about you, Ty. This is not going to be turned into an article. I have another person I spoke to about. I was
going to say, you just spent 2 hours talking to somebody.
No, a different interview.
Yeah, I know he's talking about.
A different interview. So it's going to be a pretty legit story. Talking to him tonight, I was like, this is great. So I'm excited to share that with you.
You had an interview with somebody pretty big this afternoon as well, right?
It also was on like the U.S. press conference and stuff, but I did not have my question answered or asked because there are like 1 million people in the press conference, and it goes like, okay, Grant Wall, Athletic, ESPN, Fox Sports. I'm like, okay, I understand. I get it.
Makes you feel better. I did hear your voice on some content for one of ours, like the media stuff, the media availability we had. Heard your voice.
I've been asking. I challenged myself to ask everybody at least one question.
And they answered. I was like, "Oh, look at my boy."
Oh,
you can also follow me on Instagram. I'm at Pickle Chip. Replace the I's with ones. You can see. I don't know, my adventures in Charlotte. I don't know.
You need to do more barbecuing because I'm in like every time you smoke stuff and anytime you post it, I could like to smell the phone.
Well, it's a little chilly here right now, but as it starts to warm back up.
Hi, drop your information too. You gotta.
Oh yeah, I wasn't even raising my hand because of that. I was gonna not let down the homie who asked about my favorite movie of last year.
Oh, we forgot. Yeah. What was the movie?
The Harder They Fall on Netflix. The Western.
with
Idris Elba and
It's on
Lakeith
my list.
Stanfield
Regina
and
King.
Oh my God, it was
Yeah.
so good. It was so good.
Okay.
Lakeith Stanfield is Lakeith Stanfield is that one of those actors now where it's like, okay, Lakeith Stanfield's in it, I'm watching it. Like,
That's for real. I have watched probably all the things he's done and I love it. But you can find me on Twitter at Chai T Addict, hoping that I change that in 2022. So stay tuned. And then on Instagram, I'm Ty Phillips 7. And then I feel bad for everybody who's adding me on Facebook. I exist there, but I don't live there, so I don't really do anything. You can be my friend on there, but I don't do anything. There's a lot. I went on there a couple of days ago. I was like, oh my God, there's a bunch of requests. Like, I don't. Okay, well, accept.
with the pleasure of being my friend. Thank you for being a friend.
That's how you find me. And you'll find I'm pretty transparent. Say hello, ask me questions, and go from there.
Right on. So please share the pod either on social media or just share it with your friends, family, coworkers, enemies, random people that you meet on the street, people you meet at bars, restaurants, crew matches. We're getting ready to season's going to be kicking off here not too awful long. So be on the lookout. We'll be doing some, I'm sure we'll be doing some season preview type stuff as it gets a little closer to kick off there. And please, as always, take care of yourselves. Please take care of your mental health. If you feel the need to, please reach out, speak to somebody, whether that's a therapist or a friend, someone you trust. Talking absolutely helps. Please reach out to somebody and get help if you need it. On that note, we love every single one of you. Have a great week, guys.
Adios.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.